Well, I'm glad you guys made it back. This is going to be part two. I'm going to talk about a few other dystopian things. I think the music's appropriate for that, don't you? Let me turn it down a little bit. So, the last time, do you have sound now? I sure hope you have sound because I'm sure talking. So, the last time we talked about books and books that, they really didn't want us to read. I'm going to touch on one now that is the oldest book around that's of this genre, and they really don't want us to read it. Last time we talked about old dystopian books like Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, Animal Farm, Lord of the Flies, in 1984. The point wasn't politics, the point was human behavior and the way people do, and the way we've been trained to listen to sound bites and 30-second reels and to read headlines and nothing else. So we've been trained. But there's something else happening in the modern world that people don't fully understand. And honestly, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's the book they never stop talking about. And here's where things are really going to get interesting. Because one of the books that people keep bringing up anytime society feels unstable is the book of Revelation. And I know a bunch of you there are going to get upset because I'm talking about the Bible. I'm talking about a specific book in the Bible. And the Bible itself is nothing but a collection of books. Some claim they're divinely inspired, others say they're just works of literature. I'm not here to debate religion with you. I have my own feelings on that. But I will talk to you about Revelation. And what's fascinating is that people think Revelation is just a horror story about the end of the world, and people say the apocalypse, and they think the apocalypse is just a big horrible thing that happens, right? But the word apocalypse literally just means the revealing. So it means things will be revealed. Revelation was written in a time when ordinary people felt overwhelmed by massive systems of power they couldn't control. Does that sound familiar? The Roman Empire dominated everything: politics, economics, military power, and public opinion. The people reading Revelation lived in a world where speaking against powerful systems could cost you dearly. Now, I'm not saying modern America is Rome. That's not my point. My point is human beings keep repeating the same patterns throughout history. And a book that was written 2,000 years ago is still matters today. So that's why these old books still matter. And it's one of the most powerful ideas in Revelation is the warning about deception. Not violence, not war, deception, confusion, and false narratives. Fake news, right? We all know about fake news. People losing the ability to recognize truth clearly and honestly, that's the part that hits different in the age of social media. Because today, where we live in a world where fake accounts exist, AI can imitate humans, algorithms can shape what people see. I recently saw this firsthand as I watched something play out on social media that I would have never believed was possible. Thousands, if not tens of thousands, of fake profiles, social media bots, repeated the same talking points over and over and over again on Facebook and other social media, trying to shape a narrative about a law that was trying to be passed in Virginia. And the talking points of these bots were taken directly from the literature of the people that were behind the bill pushing the bill. It beat all I'd ever seen. The bots had very few friends list. They had a profile picture, a background picture, and that was about it. But they were strong voices. I had over 21 million views that month on my social media page, the most I've ever had. And the bots turned off, so did the 21 million views. I'm back down to around 4 or 5 million views. Blows me away just how powerful those bots were. And there was a company behind them, and someone was paid to do it. And people don't even argue over opinions anymore. Sometimes they're arguing completely from different realities. Would you say the bots came from just a reality that doesn't exist? And maybe it's a real warning. The book of Revelation talks about dragons and monsters, but maybe it's not dragons and monsters, but human beings willing to be so emotionally overwhelmed and so distracted and so divided that they stop thinking clearly altogether. Revelation talks about Babylon, a massive symbolic system built on greed, excess, corruption, and power. Again, people have argued about for 2,000 years over what Babylon represents. But the bigger lesson may be simple. Any society that can't become spiritually unhealthy with profit, power, and entertainment replace wisdom, morality, and human compassion. That's not a religious warning, that's a human warning. And here's the part where people forget. Revelation doesn't end in despair. It ends in restoration, renewal, and hope. The message is not everything ends. The message is evil systems are temporary. Truth survives. Human kingdoms rise and fall. Empires come and go. And technology changes. But human nature keeps wrestling with the same problems generation after generation. And to many, that's why these old books still matter in the first place. But let's talk about algorithms and bots. I touched on it just a minute ago. Artificial engagement and how modern technology quietly shapes human behavior every single day. Are you being influenced by social media? If you say no, I'm going to talk to you about a few things and we're going to see if we change your mind a little bit. Some likes in there if you're following along. Throw some likes out there. I need them. I got to fight this algorithm every day. It doesn't like what I got to say. So I need your help. Help me out. Now, before somebody panics in the comments, I'm not saying every single online account is fake, and I'm not saying all social media is bad. But I am saying there's some giant men behind the curtain controlling everybody's thoughts. Not really saying that either. Reality is way more complicated than that, and honestly more dangerous. Because most manipulation today doesn't happen through force. It happens through influence. Tiny little nudges repeated millions of times. Now think about social media for a second. Most people believe they're seeing the internet, but they're not. They're seeing a filtered version that the internet has chosen by algorithm, and that's an important distinction. You're not seeing everything. You're seeing what the computer system predicts that you'll want to see and will keep you engaged the longest. Remember that 30-second little reel I'm talking about, that's what they want you to watch. That's different. The algorithm studies behavior, what you click, what you pause on, and what angers you, what excites you, what scares you, and what keeps your eyes on the screen. And once it learns you, it starts feeding you more of it. Not necessarily because it's evil, but because attention equals money. If you don't believe me, take your smartphone, lay it down on the table, and talk about your favorite fast food restaurant and how you really enjoy their food. Just talk about it a little bit with a few people that you know, in the room with you, or talk about it out loud to yourself, whatever. And then get on the internet with your favorite web browser like Google Chrome and start surfing the internet and pay attention to the ads that show up. Have you ever wondered why you had to have a Google account to have a smartphone? It's because they track you. And human attention has become one of the most valuable resources on earth. That's why outrage spreads so fast online, because outrage performs well and fear performs well. Conflict does very well. Human beings are emotionally wired to react to danger and tribal conflict. Algorithms learned that very quickly. Now, here's where we get uncomfortable. The algorithm doesn't necessarily care whether something's true, it cares whether people engage with it. And that's a huge difference. Once you understand that, a lot of modern internet behavior suddenly makes a lot more sense. You ever notice how social media feels more hostile than real life? It's not by accident. In real life, most people are fairly reasonable. They go to work, they pay bills, they help neighbors, they raise kids, they walk their dogs, they have ordinary lives. But online, you would think civilization was collapsing every 15 minutes. Why? Because extreme emotion spreads faster than calm conversation. And the machine learned that. So let's talk about bots for a minute, because this part sounds like science fiction until you realize how simple it actually is. A bot doesn't always mean a supercomputer pretending to be human. Sometimes it's automated amplification, fake engagement, artificial momentum. Accounts designed to push narratives, trigger outrage, influence discussion, or create the illusion that everybody believes something. And humans are social creatures. If people believe everybody around them believes something, they're more than likely to accept it themselves. Something I learned in marketing years ago when I was in college was, if people hear something 10 times, they start to accept it as true. Only takes 10 times. If somebody hears something negative, they'll tell everybody they see. And that principle is ancient. Technology just scaled it globally. And now add AI into the mix. Modern AI can generate comments, arguments, images, videos, and entire personalities. Most ordinary people can't reliably tell the difference anymore. And that changes society in ways we're only beginning to understand. Because once people stop trusting what they see, everything becomes unstable. I can use AI right now to create a video that shows Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny breaking into my house with Darth Vader waiting outside in a spaceship to steal all my stuff. I can make this video right now and put it online with the capability I have. And I've just got a simple computer, a couple of cell phones, iPad. I don't have anything fancy. Imagine what big corporations with billion-dollar budgets could do. A lot more than that, right? But once people stop trusting what they see, everything becomes unstable, truth becomes negotiable, and reality becomes fragmented. And that takes us right back to Orwell. Not because the giant of government posters, but not because of jackboots marching through the streets, but because confusion itself becomes power. If nobody understands what's real anymore, people become easier to manipulate. And here's the other side people don't really want to talk about enough. Algorithms hide things too. The hunting channels, I'm one of them. The algorithm has done everything it can to hide us. The way we fight back is we got to share it amongst ourselves. But it doesn't necessarily delete the pages, it doesn't censor them. It just quietly reduces visibility. Honestly, that's more effective. Because if people don't see something, to them, it effectively doesn't exist. And that's the reason people today can live in completely different informational realities while using the same internet. Two people can search the exact same topic and walk away with totally different understandings of the world, because modern platforms personalize information streams. Now, we take that back to the 80s, and the national newspapers like USA and some other papers, They had different cover stories for different parts of the world. California had a different cover story than North Carolina did. 2 different markets, 2 different everything. And that took a little doing because, you had to print the papers, distribute them. Now, it's as easy as clicking a mouse, and you can change your story and distribute it. So everybody winds up trapped inside their own little digital tribe. I started noticing this about 10 years ago on social media, and I created a separate account that was extremely liberal. That account was extremely liberal. And it followed the liberal news and it followed the liberals. And I would pull them up side by side from time to time and show what my extremely conservative news feed was showing and what my extremely liberal news feed was showing. And it was like I was on 2 different planets. So everybody winds up trapped inside their own digital tribe, their own emotional ecosystem, their own version of reality. And that's very dangerous for society because neighbors need to talk to each other. I think it's part of why people feel exhausted all the time now. Humans were never designed to absorb nonstop emotional stimulation from thousands of strangers each day. Our brains evolved for small communities, not global outrage machines running 24 hours a day. And let's face it, everybody's not a military strategist. Everybody's not a political science professional, but everybody on the internet is an expert in both. I spent a good part of my life in the intelligence field. Am I qualified to critique the current military operations that are going on? Sure. Am I privy to all the information that the people making the decisions have? Absolutely not. So I can second guess them and I can have my own opinion, but should I present it as fact? Not really, because it's just my opinion. The internet can do amazing things. It connects people that never would have crossed paths or known each other. I've developed some friends, we've done videos together that without the internet, I would have never met them. It spreads knowledge. It helps small creators. I'm a small creator. Build audiences. It lets families stay together, connected across the world, and I've personally benefited from it. A country boy from a swamp called TicBite in eastern North Carolina can sit here now talking to thousands of people across multiple states and countries because of technology. Last time I looked at my podcast on Spotify, there's 18 different countries following my podcast. That's pretty wild. Country boy from TicBite, North Carolina, they're listening to me in the Ukraine. Imagine that. It's incredible when you think about it, but every powerful tool has consequences. And the problem is most people use these systems every single day without understanding how they work. And that is very dangerous because the first step in resisting manipulation is recognizing that you're being manipulated. And again, this is not left versus right. This has nothing to do with one political party versus the other. Everybody gets manipulated online. Everybody. Different tribes, different narratives, different emotional triggers, but the same basic system. The machine studies people, it learns people, it predicts people, and it influences people. Now, this might be the most important question. How do you protect yourself? And honestly, the answer is really boring. And that's why people ignore it. You got to slow down. You got to read long form material, not just the headline. You can't just listen to the 30-second soundbite. You got to talk to real people face to face. And you have to spend some time offline. Read some older books. Read George Orwell's 1984. Read Animal Farm. Don't just watch the movie. Learn history. Get your hands on some history books that were printed years ago. History is not necessarily here for us to accept it. History is for us to learn from it. But I'll caution you on something. That history book was written by the victor. History's always written by the victor, the one that wins. That's why social media is so dangerous to the machine, because everybody can have an opinion. Every phone's got a camera built into it now. Anyone can go out in public and film. And that is extremely dangerous to established machines when they want to control the information. But they can control it on the back end because they can prevent you from seeing it. That's how propaganda works. That's how advertising works. And maybe most importantly, learn to control your emotions and learn self-control, because manipulation works best on emotional people reacting instantly. That's why the old books still matter. That's why they weren't warning us about gadgets. They were warning us about ourselves, about human fear, about tribalism, human weakness, comfort, vanity, greed, and laziness. Technology changes. Human nature really doesn't. And maybe the biggest danger of all is a society that has become so distracted and so emotionally exhausted and so addicted to stimulation that it forgets how to think independently altogether. This has been Todd Edwards with TicBite NC. Read something old this week. Turn off the phone every once in a while. And remember, just because something trends doesn't mean it's true. Now think about that for a minute now. Just because it trends does not mean it's true. In today's world, I would say that if it trends, it probably isn't true. But spend a little time in independent thought this week. And if you would, follow me on TikTok, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Facebook. I'm even on Spotify. Follow me there. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being there. I'm going to cut this one off. I've gone 23 minutes, and odds are you haven't stayed to listen to all of it because we're a 30-second soundbite society. Thanks for listening.